I've got a plant that I haven't shown you yet. I bought a new plant the other day. Oh, and I was going to tell you about the experiment that I'm doing as well, which if it works, I feel like could just absolutely change the game for my plants. I'm very, very excited about it. That is so rotten. Look at that. That's such a simple thing, but it has genuinely made me feel so much more organized. Oh, I feel very ashamed of this. The last time I repotted this plant, everything went very wrong. So I'm really hoping that it doesn't happen like that again today. Hola a todos, bienvenidos de nuevo a mi canal. Espero que todos estén bien. Estoy muy emocionado de mostrarles algunas plantas hermosas en el video de hoy. Va a ser muy divertido.
Hola Claire.
Hola Ross. Hola Yoli.
Are you not going to tell everyone why we're suddenly speaking Spanish?
Oh, tienes razón, Ross. Supongo que debería hacerlo. So as you all know, me and Ross have recently got back from Lanzarote, and having always wanted to learn another language, it really encouraged us to actually start. So when Babbel, one of the world's leading language apps, reached out, it felt like perfect timing. So thank you, Babbel, for sponsoring today's video.
Muchas gracias!
I was actually already familiar with Babbel as I've used it in the past and got on brilliantly with it. I find it just really helps to take away the fear and overwhelmingness that can sometimes be there when learning a new language, and it just makes it really fun. It's almost like playing a quiz game on your phone. The lessons are created by real language teachers and tailored completely to you and the way that you work, meaning that you could do it for an hour or two every day, or literally once a week, whatever works best for you. There's also lots of languages to choose from, not just Spanish. Aunque realmente estamos disfrutando aprender español, ¿verdad, Yoli? If you're keen to try Babbel for yourself, either to learn a new language from scratch or to brush up on what you already know, then you can get 60% off a subscription when you click the link in the description box below. And out of interest, let me know in the comments below which language you'd like to be fluent in. No, Yoli, speaking dog is not a language. Thank you again, Babbel. Now let's get into the video.
Adios, Claire. Que siguen sexys as mantas de las plantas.
So the plan for today is going to be, I guess, just a little bit of everything. I've got a corner of plants that I'm looking at that has been severely neglected. So I've got lots of kind of rehabby stuff, I think, to do over there. I've got a couple of boxes of things where I can see that things are going a little bit wrong as well. So I want to get in there and tackle some problems. But on a positive note, I just wanted to start off with an update because, oh my God, this plant is just blowing my mind at the moment. It is my begonia hirtella, and this is the one that I got at the Bristol plant swap only a few months ago as a one-leaf cutting. And honestly, I said it when I last spoke about this plant, but I have never known a plant to grow so quickly. This is not just like one, I don't know, like sometimes I'm like, it's giving me a new leaf every week. This is literally giving me what feels like multiple new leaves per day, which is just crazy. And as you can see, it is also blooming. And although I think the blooms are so beautiful, I am actually on the whole just pinching them off because I really want to, I kind of just want to see how quickly this plant will grow. And by taking the flowers off, you just encourage the plant to use its energy better elsewhere, i.e. creating more foliage. So yeah, this one probably actually, it wasn't on my list, but could probably do with a repot because when I first potted this one up, I was like, oh, I don't know if it's going to do, I don't know if its root system is big enough to go straight into soil. Little did I know how speedy it would be. But I potted it quite low in the pot, so it hasn't actually got that much soil in there. And it is drying out very quickly. I'm watering it like every other day at the moment. So I'm going to put this one on the table and I will repot this shortly. And in fact, I've got a couple of begonia related things that I want to do today. Oh, and one more update as well before we get into it. My begonia ferox that I got from one of you guys, Max and Holly, at the Malvern RHS Festival. This has honestly been in water for such a long time, literally since we saw you that day. It's been in water, hasn't been rooting. I was about to give up, and then Ross got a little milkshake cup and suspended it like that, and I was like, that's a good idea. And it is now rooting, which I'm really, really happy about. So although it's been quite slow to get going, this is obviously just a really good way of doing things, so leaving it to do its thing. Oh, and last thing, I've got a plant that I haven't shown you yet. I bought a new plant the other day. And again, when I was at Malvern, I met the lovely people that own Rita's Botanicals, and they had a stall there. And they were saying that they were going to be setting up a shop in Guildford, and my mum actually lives in Guildford, so we popped over there over the weekend, and oh my god, the shop is absolutely beautiful. I'm thinking I'll probably take you guys for a little tour there at some point because it is gorgeous. But I got myself a Peperomia prostrata string of turtles, and I have had this plant before, and I think it is such a gorgeous, gorgeous plant. I find it really enjoyable to grow. It's a great one to propagate. And very sadly, when I moved into my flat here, I think my Peperomia prostrata lasted about a month or two. It wasn't doing very well at all. I think the lighting adjustment was just, I personally don't think I acclimated the plant very well, to be honest. But I've got lots of sections of it now conserved in terrariums, but I've been missing my full plant. So I saw this one and I just had to grab it, and I think it's so gorgeous. But yeah, those are all the updatey things that I wanted to start with, plus a couple of bonuses because I always get distracted. But I have literally, just like 5 minutes before filming this, had a massive, massive soil order arrive, and this is annoying actually. I really wanted to get my cupboard of chaos a little bit more organised, and so I was like, a great thing to do would be to order a load of storage boxes, and I can unpack all my soils and substrates into them, and I can organise everything, and then I can stack them. And I thought, oh, it's been like one thing after another. I ordered some storage boxes that then didn't get delivered, so I reordered them. And I thought I was ordering like big, big storage boxes, and these have just turned up, and they're kind of like big sandwich boxes. Honestly, how much soil can I fit in these? But I'm sure I can probably make some use for them, so I'm going to unpack the soil, and then maybe I could like put moss or something on one of these. I don't know, but I'm going to attempt to get a little bit organised, and then we can do some repotting. So I've got new soil, and then I've also got some bits that were through in the bedroom because I was doing some repotting through there the other day. But this is a big old top-up load from Soil Ninja. I've said it before, but I absolutely love their soils and substrates. I literally exclusively use their stuff nowadays. Okay. Here's where my storage boxes could be useful. I've got things like bark, and that could work quite well. Let me get everything out, and then I can figure out where it all goes. Oh my god, no wonder that was heavy. That is all semi-hydro. I feel very sorry for my postman. I just like to put a few things in place in my collection to help things feel a little bit more organised and therefore easier, because I'm aware that even though I am constantly reorganising that cupboard of chaos, stuff still falls out every time I open the door, and I just know I'm not doing things particularly well in there. So if like I can have everything stacked, I just think that would make things better. I think I've got another storage box as well, actually. I'm always so ashamed of this cupboard, but that's what it's currently looking like. So yes, I do have some more storage boxes. So I think I could do some good things here. Right, let's start with these smaller boxes. I've just had a really good idea. I'm thinking I'll empty as much as I possibly can into boxes and label the boxes, and then if I've got like half a bag of something left over that won't fit in boxes, then I could put it like under the sofa or something in a place where I don't need to see it, but I'll know that I've got more there if need be. Very boring. I know this is such a boring thing, but I feel like I spend my life living in chaos and then fixing one area of chaos and moving to the next area that is then chaotic. So, ooh, got some fine bark and some chunky bark here. So, to be honest, I don't really mind if they mix, but I might just try and put more chunky on one side. Smells so good. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it smells amazing. Oh, in fact, I think that is going to fit perfectly. I would be so happy if the lid closes on this. Just about. There we go. Check out my organised boxes that I've labelled. Oh my god, that feels so good. That's such a simple thing, but it has genuinely made me feel so much more organised. And now I've got two bigger boxes here that I can use for soil and semi-hydro. In fact, I've also got one slightly smaller box that I was gonna put some tree fern fibre into. This bag has been half used, but I might just decant this into this. And I am actually gonna do two things. I'm just gonna put a little bit of water into the bag here so that it doesn't produce as much dust, and I am also gonna put a mask on for all of these things just because the dust from them is so bad for your lungs. And I'm always really bad at remembering to do it, and I'm always thinking it when I watch other people's videos and I see other people doing planty things. So I actually bought myself some masks recently and I was like, I need to just get into the habit of doing it. Oh, and also I've got something really exciting to tell you about in a minute. I'm doing a little experiment that also involves these masks, but we will get to that in just a moment. Oh, that just fits. I thought that was not gonna fit in and I'd have to put a little bit back in. Oh, so satisfying. Now, as I say, I would prefer it if these were bigger. However, I'm gonna do what I said before. I'm gonna decant some and then I'm gonna store the others. To be honest, if I got clever about it, I could get some barrels and put them out on the balcony. Maybe I'll do that at some point. Perfect. And the reason that I didn't wash all my semi-hydro before I put it in the box is just because I did that the last time around and it worked pretty well, but when I got to kind of like the second half of the bag, then it started needing washing again, because obviously as it rubs up against each other, it creates more dust. So what I have started to do to rinse my semi-hydro, because I don't have an outdoor tap and obviously I don't want to block the pipes, is I will essentially like either put it into a pot or put it through a sieve or something and wash it either into a saucepan or a washing up bowl or something like that. And then I was going to say go and empty it out in the car park. I should do that. I'm very naughty and actually just throw it off my balcony and check that there's no one underneath. But yeah, empty it outside basically. And that seems to be working pretty well. But I'm feeling pretty good after doing that. I think it looks so much more organized. I'm not going to attempt to reorganize the entire cupboard of chaos now. I think that's a little bit much. But I'm just going to have a little sort out, and then I'm going to bring over some stuff from the neglected corner. Oh my God, you guys, I know this is literally a second later, but it's actually in reality filming this about an hour later, and I have this awful habit of getting so distracted. And honestly, I say it all the time, but filming these videos holds me accountable so much, and it means that I get so much done, because I literally stopped the camera to change the shot so that I could clear up, and then I was like, I'm kind of hungry, I'm gonna make a snack, and while I eat my snack I'm going to sit on my laptop, and like I have just wasted so much time. So yeah, I know you don't always see all these bits behind what goes on that I show in my videos, but sometimes it is a real struggle, and apparently I'm having one of those days. So having just got very organised with all the soil and substrates and everything, I am now going to just leave the camera rolling and I am going to clean up, and then I'm going to get into that blasted corner and deal with some stuff because I need to do it. Right, let's go. So this over here is the neglected corner of plants, and to be honest, I've got a lot of my succulents over there which are fairly okay. One of my anthuriums is not looking happy, and then I've just got some boxes of stuff. Some of those are the plants that I was saying I've kind of put into storage so I don't have to worry about for a while, but I'm looking at some of them and it looks very green. I can see some yellowing leaves in there, and I just think that there's stuff that needs my attention that I'm probably ignoring a little bit. So I'm gonna just set up the table to do some repotting, get the things done that I already wanted to get done today, and bring some of those things over as well so that I can tackle them and get a little bit more on top. Another thing that I know needs a repot, but is a little bit fiddly, is my very long Repotting tetrasperma. Oh my God. Like, look at the size of that giant. She is growing like crazy. And I'm pretty sure this plant is actually taller than me now. But yeah, she's growing in the teeniest, tiniest jar in semi-hydro, and I think that needs to change. So I have brought quite a lot of things over. Some need desperate attention, some are just kind of fun things, but I think I'm gonna start with the Repotting tetrasperma just because I think it's gonna be a pretty easy one to do, but I don't want to leave this one lying out on the floor for very long if I can avoid it, because it's going to get trampled. And this one is growing amazingly in semi-hydro. Honestly, I've had no grief at all, and I've literally just filled that little jar with water every now and again. So I would like to keep it in semi-hydro. And I was just looking at what I had in the cupboard of chaos, and I think I'm gonna just do that, and I can do its reservoir in this little like baskety pot and then fill this with probably a chunky semi-hydro, seeing as I've just got a big box of it filled. And at the same time, I can show you how I rinse my semi-hydro. I know I tried to explain it before, but I feel like showing you is probably easier. So I've just filled a saucepan with water, and I'm literally just going to put some into the sieve and just give it a rinse through. Just kind of washing off the worst of the dustiness. And then, yeah, the fine semi-hydro that it's currently in, I'm just going to empty into this bag, and I will then boil and reuse. And I'm hoping it's going to come out okay, because all of the roots look like they've kind of grown to the side of the jar, and it's a little bit, oh my god, this is so fiddly. It's a little bit dry at the moment, so we will see. The last time I repotted this plant, everything went very wrong, so I'm really hoping that it doesn't happen like that again today. I'm not going to disrupt it too much, but that is what it's looking like. And as you can tell, it's actually a pretty small root system for the size of the plant. So I think when I get it into a bigger pot, it's just going to spread really quickly. So yeah, I'm not sure how well you can see, but that water is now super, super murky. And that is what I will discard, i.e. pour off my balcony when no one's watching. Perfect. Oh my goodness, I feel like the plant is just going to be so much happier now like that. Where did I put that? Ah, there it is. So I am going to actually put this one back in its spot now, just because, as I say, either me or Yoli is bound to tread on it. I've got actually some water here, so I'm just going to fill a little reservoir. Oh, how did I do this before? There we go. I think that's roughly how it was. Oh, and I was going to tell you about the experiment that I'm doing as well, which, if it works, I feel like could just absolutely change the game for my plants. I'm very, very excited about it. So basically, it's the other reason why I was saying before I need this mask. And I've started playing about again with diatomaceous earth, which I used years ago and I got on really well with. But like, if you're not familiar with diatomaceous earth, it basically looks like what you see on this leaf here. It looks just like a powder. I'll put some clips in of it because I've got a big bag of it over there. And I will make a full video on it at some point, but basically it like any pest that comes into contact with it will essentially dehydrate and die. It's pretty grim, but it is very, very effective. And the reason, sorry, that I stopped using it before is just because it's a bit of a faff. Like, you have to like brush it onto your plant's leaves and it never spreads very evenly. And like, I don't know, like I was always left with like patches where I had loads and then patches where I didn't have any at all. And although it worked, I was like, I'm not able to fully kind of target all of the plants that I need to. And it's very early days, but in the last few weeks, I've been playing about with an area of my flat that I haven't got predatory mites in. And I think it's important to say that as well. If you are using biological pest control, predatory mites, if you've got any active in your home, then this stuff will like kill everything. So yeah, also very important to use a mask and not spray it around like people, pets. Yoli's through next door at the moment because I'm doing this. But as I say, I wanted to try and figure out a way that I could distribute it evenly so that I could essentially, what I would like to be able to do is just focus on spraying the backs of my plant's leaves so that I don't have to look at the diatomaceous earth like sprinkled on the front of it. It doesn't make the plants look horrible, but it also is an effective form of pest control. And so I've got a couple of plants. I've got, in fact, 3 plants that have got spider mites at the moment and 1 that's got thrips, and I'm experimenting on them. But what I've done is like ages ago, I was making a cake and I got spray glitter and I was like, interesting. I was like, a spray system that can spray a powder. So I ordered one on Amazon and I was like, if it works with diatomaceous earth, I will be so happy. And it does. So I put my mask on again. I'll give you a little demo. But what I'm basically doing, you do just have to like whack it a little bit. But assuming you want to treat a plant here, you'll just kind of give it a little shake and then you just press the top. I don't know how well you can see that on camera, but it just really evenly distributes it all over the plant's leaves. And as I say, maybe this isn't going to be the most effective way of doing things. I kind of feel like if it was, someone would have come up with it by now, but I'm giving it a go because in my head, in theory, it should work. It also would enable you to, if you did have to, like if you were dealing with an infestation, if you were having to spray the fronts of plants' leaves, you could do a much thinner layer because the closer you get, the thicker it is. So yes, it's in the very early stages, but it's fun to be playing about with. So I will 100% keep you updated with it. And hopefully it will revolutionize things. Who knows? But what's that? Oh, okay. I've got so many things here that I want to do and things that I need to do as well, but I want to do one that I want to do. And in fact, let's do this one next. So I know I said this was going to be very begonia-ish today. The begonia Sinbad is the begonia that I feel like may have just brought me round to loving begonias. I'm not saying that I'm like begonia obsessed or anything, but I have, since having this one, added a few to my collection that I really, really love. And the thing I love about the begonia Sinbad is just like, it's got such a beautiful texture and almost like metallic sheen to its leaves. Like it's kind of pale green, but then it's also got pink in it as well. And I've got another one that I actually brought over from the neglected shelf. This was the first cutting I got of it, and this one's been growing right in the window and it's very pink indeed. So yeah, I started propagating these ones here in water, I think about 3 weeks ago now, and they've got a very little root system. Like if you look through the glass, you can see they have got some little roots. And typically with other types of plants, I would wait a little bit before I potted them up. However, with this one, I transferred it to this like semi-hydro soil mishmash without drainage, which I have been doing for quite a few plants. In fact, my Peperonia incarna is the one that I've spoken about the most with this, and this is one, obviously it's a semi-succulent. It's one that you would have thought needs fantastic drainage, and I've just put some semi-hydro at the bottom and then the organic substrate on top, and it has just improved things for this plant so much. I am getting growth from this plant that I previously wasn't getting, and it seems so much happier like this. It's so much easier for me to monitor, and it's very low maintenance. It's kind of like semi-hydro, to be honest, like the way that I'm growing it. So I was thinking, bearing in mind, it's worked amazingly for this one. I've already tested it on a small bit of the begonia Sinbad. Shall I just take the risk and do a similar thing, but pot all of the sections up together? I'd really, really like to get this going as a full plant because I honestly, I told you guys how much I love this begonia, but I think I'm just going to take the leap and I'm going to do it. Because to be honest, it's got some pretty good roots. They're not as long as I would typically say they need to be, but I think I'm going to do it. But like I said, the begonia Sinbad, so I stumbled across this begonia actually when I was looking for something else, and I can't remember what I was originally looking for. But I was on Etsy and I was looking for a cutting of something, and this one just popped up. I think it was in the same shop as the cutting that I ended up buying, and I'd never even heard of the begonia Sinbad before, but I was like, that's really beautiful, and I was like, I'll get a cutting, and it arrived, and although I thought it was beautiful in the pictures, it was so much more gorgeous in person, and I immediately became a little bit obsessed with it. I had it propagating just over there in the corner, and like every time we were watching TV, I would find myself just looking at the plant instead of the TV. And I said to Ross, I was like, oh my God, I was like, it's got a bit of pink on it. Maybe this is my way into colourful plants. And I went back to order some more cuttings from that seller, and the person had temporarily closed it. And I was like, no, I really don't want to miss out on my chance of getting some more. And I tried my best to track down some other cuttings of the begonia Sinbad. And honestly, I searched high and low. And here in the UK, it's near impossible to come by. I had some of you guys in like the States and Canada being like, you can get it over here. And I was like, that's no good. So I set a notification to when this person's shop opened again so that I would get notified and I could go back on and I could get some. And it happened when I was in Lanzarote and I was like, oh my God, go, go, go. And so I ordered like, I think 4 cuttings or something. And they arrived, and I started the propagation process with them, as I say, about 3 weeks ago in one of my Patreon live videos. And so, yeah, I'm now just really, really, really excited to get this one going. And I'm still experimenting with this way of growing. It's not the way that I feel the most comfortable with, but I just think if I could start growing more like this, it would just make life easier. And I do really like soil growing as well. So I'm going to give it a go. So I've just put a layer of chunky semi-hydro at the bottom there. I've used leca so far for most of the ones that I've done like this, but I see no reason why this wouldn't work as well. And I think I'll probably pot this one up with it too, or yeah, I was going to say hypothetically, seeing as this one has only got a relatively small root system so far, maybe I'll keep this one by to one side. Oh, someone's at the door. Bear with me, hold that thought. Something very funny has just arrived that I ordered for Emma's hen do. And I can't say it on here because Emma might watch this. So yes, what I was saying is I think maybe I will keep this one as is, just because I've only potted it up fairly recently, and if everything was to go wrong with this one, which I will not let it go wrong, but if it did, then at least I've got a backup, because like I say, I know this is a begonia that currently isn't that easy to come by. So I'm going to do things in the same way as I did before, and I'm going to mix up. God, I love having these boxes, honestly. I feel so organised. But I'm going to mix up with all of my soils that I've got here. I'm going to mix up just a chunky, well-draining, nutritious mix for my begonia, and then I'm going to get it going. So I'm thinking, with all of my options, I'm thinking I'm going to do obviously some base mix, which is perlite, the classic soil ninja base mix, some tree fern fibre, some worm castings, and some bark. I feel like I'm little again and I'm like concocting a potion. I don't know if any of you guys used to do that. Oh my God, I was awful for it. I was always getting told off for going into my mum's room and like taking her, like, I don't know, like her nice perfumes and her body lotions and like mixing them into stuff. And there is something about mixing soils that kind of reminds me of that a little bit. I think one of the things, to be honest, one of the things that I really love about, about plant care is that it kind of makes it, like for me anyway, it kind of makes me feel a little bit childlike again. Like it is very much like get your hands dirty, play in the soil, like it just, I don't know, it just feels lovely, and I do think that that is part of the enjoyment. I was actually just talking to Ross as well in my break between filming when I got very distracted, and he was saying, I was talking to him about the cupboard of chaos and stuff, and he was like, why don't you get a little like a little wheelie thing to put your boxes on so that you can wheel them out of the cupboard, put stuff behind them and then wheel them back in. I think that's a really good idea. I can tell that I'm going to start getting obsessive about like organising the cupboard of chaos. I do this, like I know it's a really well-known trait of ADHD, but long before I ever found out I had ADHD, I would get ridiculously obsessive over like a certain food or a certain activity or a certain hobby, and I would take up so many things, and I would get obsessed to the point that I literally could not sleep at night because I was thinking about that thing, and then almost overnight it would disappear and it would turn into something else. And I know for a fact I do that with plants as well. Like I will obsess over a certain plant and it's all I can talk about, and I just want to share every update with you guys, and I want to show you everything. And it's not that I then end up going off that plant, or rarely is it that I end up going off that plant. It's just that like, it's not even the novelty wears off. Oh my god, whew, that made me jump. It's not even that the novelty of it wears off, it's just that, I don't know, I usually find a new thing to obsess over. And I feel like last year, or the last couple of years, my main obsession has been semi-hydro, and I bang on about semi-hydro all the time, and don't get me wrong, I still do love semi-hydro, but I think growing in this way might just be the new thing that I obsess over a little bit, because I have found myself transferring quite a lot of plants out and into this way of growing, and I'm just really enjoying it. And I think that's the fun with, again, with plant care, just like experimenting and playing about with different things and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. But when something works, you just want to talk about it all the time, don't you? Or I do anyway. Okay, I'm going to pop the longer bits. Oh, we've got some little flowers here as well. I'm going to pop the longer bits right at the bottom, and then the shorter bits I'll do a little bit on top. One thing I do need, oh, I can probably use this. This is the first plant care day I've had in what feels like ages, and I know that sounds like such a silly thing to say, but I feel like a lot of what I've been doing recently has just been very practical plant care and not like actually sit down and enjoy stuff. Like even the last video I made doing plant care things, it was very much, if I remember correctly, it was very much kind of like going from room to room, and it wasn't just gentle and nice, and this feels really nice. I love having plant care days like this. I always say it as well, but the nice thing about growing in glass jars is that you can really watch the roots as they grow and develop, and obviously you can monitor them to make sure that they stay healthy, but also it's just really fun to watch them. I really love watching them grow. And apparently, and again, I don't know much about begonia, so if any of you guys, which I'm sure most of you are more experienced with begonia than me, please let me know. But apparently begonia also props really well straight into soil. I think cane begonia, people were saying, or someone somewhere, I don't know, either on Instagram or wherever it was saying that you can literally take a cutting and stick it straight into soil. And I don't know why. It's not, like, just from the little that I know about the genus and looking at the plant, it's not the kind of plant that I would have expected you to be able to do that with. Typically I think of very succulent plants like Hoyas and obviously succulents. I always think of them as being able to do it, but yeah, if that is a thing with begonia and you guys have experience doing that, let me know, because maybe I'll be brave enough to try that the next time. But oh my goodness, that looks so beautiful. I just think that begonia is picture perfect. It's so gorgeous, so gorgeous. And again, similarly to what I just did for my Rhaphidophora, I'm just going to give it a gentle water through, just to the point where I can see a very small reservoir at the bottom of the semi-hydro. So as you can see, that's my layer of semi-hydro, just literally a centimetre, so the roots don't get overwhelmed by too much water. Because obviously if you do overwater in this way, if you're not able to actually kind of like physically tip the excess water out, then you probably would need to get everything out of the jar, which I know is a little bit annoying. It's a little bit like if you were to overwater a terrarium, things would die very quickly. So yeah, just being very careful about this, but I see no reason why this won't work. And you know what? I know I was talking about repotting the begonia hatella that I showed you at the beginning of this video. Maybe I do that the same way. I wasn't going to, but I could if I have a good jar, because that's a nice jar, that one. I've got lots of little jars, but I feel like this one will need quite a big jar because it is growing so quickly. Let me have a look in the cupboard of chaos and see what I can find. So I've got this, it's a plastic tub, and I could transfer it into this, but I think this is probably a little bit on the big side. It is ginormous. So maybe if I pot size up for now and I just keep it in a normal pot, then maybe in a couple of months I could transfer it to this if I wanted to. Ideally it would be a glass jar as well. I would much prefer it if it was a glass jar. Oh, I have got, they're Ross's special fermenting jars. I was going to say I've got some lovely jars over there. I think I'd be in trouble if I used them though. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So I have got this pot and this cover pot, and I think that will work pretty well. It's still a fair size up, like jump wise in size, but just because this one's growing so quickly and because it's drying out at such a fast rate, I kind of feel like the plant can take it. But what I might do actually, is that a good idea? I was going to say I might still put a layer of semi-hydro at the bottom, similarly to what I've just done for this one. Obviously this isn't transparent and I won't be able to monitor it in the same way, but I might just do it anyway because I feel like it. And I'm also going to mix up some more of the same mix for this begonia. Out of interest, just because I've never really been at all interested in begonia before, out of interest, what are your favourite types? Comment some down below, because although I don't see myself, or maybe I will, I don't know, but I don't see myself getting like absolutely obsessed with begonias. I would just be interested to discover some new types, because the ones that I've got currently in my collection are bringing me much more joy than I thought they would. So yeah, if there's any that you think I might like or you really like, do let me know. That's such a satisfying noise. Kind of reminds me of like walking on a pebble beach. Like a UK beach. One thing I really miss actually is I miss the sea. I used to live in a seaside town called Worthing, and I was literally at one point pretty much on the beach, and it was beautiful there. Not like, I mean, I know a lot of you guys live in beautiful places around the world, not like, as I say, a gorgeous sandy beach. It was very pebbly and usually very cold, but it was just gorgeous. I have such fond memories of being there. And I'd walk with Yoli down there some days as well, and she would, oh my God, bless her heart, she would absolutely love it. You know, when particularly young dogs, and she was a very young dog at this point, but you know when they are so loose-limbed that they're almost like elasticated. Whenever I took her down to the beach, if the tide was out and we would get a little bit of sand, she would just go absolutely crazy and she'd bolt about. And also, funnily enough, she is a dog that loves the water. And I know I sound surprised about that. I think because before Yoli, I had a lurcher, lovely lurcher, beautiful dog. But similar body type in some ways to Yoli, kind of like that greyhound build, quite, not that Yoli's exactly like nimble, but quite, I don't know, like not that stocky. And those types of dogs typically, from what I found, don't necessarily like water that much. They're not like Labradors, they don't particularly like swimming, and although they might paddle from time to time, they won't actually swim. Whereas Yoles is actually the opposite. Whoa. Very, very rooty. It's literally just staying together. I'm not going to break it up that much. I'm just going to loosen, oh my God. Loosen the root ball as much as I can. But yeah, Yoles absolutely loves the water and she loves swimming. So she still gets to go to the beach from time to time, but obviously it's not every day anymore. But I love watching her in water. I've, again, somewhere got a video of her swimming and it is so sweet. It's so sweet. So if I can find it, I'll put it on the screen so that you can see it. But bless her heart, she's such a sweet girl. And I think I mentioned in a video the other day, but we are going to be having building work done on our building really soon. We've just got a confirmation that it's actually going to start, well, the scaffold's going up next week, and I'm absolutely dreading it, and I know that Yoli is just going to hate it. She's fairly adaptable, so I'm hoping she will just get used to it if it's going on for a while, but it's just going to be very noisy. It's going to be annoying. It's going to be annoying when it comes to filming. It's going to be distressing for her. I'm really not looking forward to it, to be honest. But hopefully once it's done, we won't have to worry about anything like that again. Because this building, it's lovely, but it has been pretty much falling apart since before I moved in. And it's leaking, like I've got leaks in my flat. Luckily at this time of year it's not too bad, but one of my downstairs neighbours, oh my God, there's literally water pouring through his ceiling on a regular basis, which is not good. Also, I cannot break these roots up. Like I mean I could, but I feel like I'm gonna damage them lots by doing that. And I'm like, maybe, bearing in mind the soil is still quite wet because I watered it this morning, maybe I just put soil around it for the time being and let the roots spread naturally. I think that is what I'm gonna do because I don't want to disrupt the root system too much, especially when I'm sizing up this much. This is another begonia that is very good at telling you when it needs a drink. It's very similarly to my Boston fern, actually. It goes a very pale shade of green and it doesn't exactly wilt, but it's literally like the colour has been drained out of it. So whenever it starts to look like that, I'm like, oh, it needs a drink. It's one that I barely even monitor the soil on anymore. It's a plant that honestly has been so easy in my time of owning it. I've already said it is crazily fast to grow. But it's one that I feel like if you're someone that thinks you're bad with plants, this is one that will kind of tell you everything that it needs because you can literally watch it and see what it needs. The one thing I might do as well, seeing as I'm here with it, is I might just tie, I'm actually going to take these flowers off, which I know is sad, but it feels like the right thing to do. They are very pretty though. But I might just tie some more sections of it up to the cane because it's growing so quickly. I was going to say the one thing that I have noticed with this plant is it is quite susceptible to pests, and it's kind of not surprising. It's a very succulent begonia, and I noticed thrips on it a couple of weeks ago. Again, I sprayed it down with diatomaceous earth in the way that I showed you before using this little thing, and touch wood, I haven't seen any more on there. I'm giving it a good look over now and I can't see any at all. So far so good. But as I say, it was only a couple that I saw. And I thought I brought the string over, actually, but I clearly didn't. So I'm just going to grow out some. You know what? One better. I've just found my garden wire that I thought I'd lost. And this stuff is so much easier because you can just bend a little section of it. You don't have to worry about tying it or anything like that. Where's the end? I think I'm just going to let those bottom sections just branch out. And then I guess at some point I can chop and propagate them and either pot them back up with this plant and get a really big full plant, or take some to plant swaps. I mean, honestly, this is one of the plants that I've got at the plant swap that I am probably the most happy with. It's just one that is absolutely blowing my mind. Like, you'd look at that and you would think that that is like a plant that, I don't know, has been grown in a greenhouse for years, or I've had in my collection for a really long time. And I just, again, I know I keep saying it, but my mind is blown, and I just need to stress the fact that it was a one leaf cutting that was about that big, not even a big leaf, 3 months ago. That's all it was, and this is what it is now. I'm amazed by it. But yeah, cool. Right, that is that one done. And then these two are very sad. And I actually think that maybe, because I'm going to be doing some pouring of semi-hydro and some chopping, I kind of want to be on the floor. I think I might just push the table back and clear some space here and get on the floor with these plants because I want to be comfier. Right, let's start with this one. Oh, I feel very ashamed of this. This is my Caladium lindenii. I don't really know why I'm giving you a close-up because there's not much to see at all. And this one has been doing really, really well for me. It's been through in the bedroom for the last 8 months maybe. And it's been doing really well. I've had it in semi-hydro. And it hasn't been giving me any grief at all. And I thought before we went away on holiday, before we went to Lanzarote, I thought it looked a little bit funky. And to be honest, I gave it a quick check over. I didn't do any like proper investigating, whereas I should have done. And yeah, I just filled up its reservoir and I left, and I got back and I could see a lot of discoloration on the leaves. And again, I didn't give it a good enough check over. But I did actually notice thrips on one of Ross's plants that was next to it a few days later, and I was like, it all makes sense. And it had thrips, and so I gave this plant a really good chop back about 3 days ago. Also, loads of its foliage had just died back, and I know it can cycle a little bit, but I think that's more just because the plant wasn't well and I hadn't done anything to help matters. But yeah, so now it's just lots of stumps in a pot, and because it has had pests, although it's in semi-hydro, I am going to change out the semi-hydro. So again, in fact, so I'm looking at the roots coming out the bottom of the pot and they don't look great. So I think there might be multiple issues going on here. Also, the camera is very wonky. Is that better? I feel like that's better. Can you see what I'm doing? I don't think you can. There we go. It's very annoying. The bottom of my camera on the screen that I can see stuff on has like loads of text over it, and so I can never tell exactly what you can see, but I'm just going to assume that you can see here. So yeah, again, I'm just going to empty out the semi-hydro into this bag and I'll boil it up and I'll reuse it. Oh, okay. So I've just got a glance of the roots and I think I'm going to need to do some chopping. I'm going to give it a good shake off. Try and get the semi-hydro off and then I'll show you. So, there's lots of very healthy roots in here, as you can see, but there's also some that are incredibly dark and sludgy. And to be honest, some of the ones that are a little bit brown, I have found that for this plant, that doesn't mean that they're like root rotty. They can be brown and they can be healthy. Like for example, you can see like that root there, that is actually a really kind of full succulent root, but some of the ones towards the bottom that are really dark are not very healthy. So I'm gonna give, as if it looks like I'm turning weirdly. I was setting up to film this video and I like cricked my neck. I'm gonna give roots, oh yeah, like that just pulled away. That is so rotten, look at that. I'm going to give them a really good trim back. I feel so guilty. I always feel so guilty when I have got a plant that I know things could have been prevented with. And as I say, I knew that there wasn't something right with this plant and I just didn't do anything about it. There are just some days where, weeks even, where plant care can just feel like a bit much, and like you'll look at something and you'll know it's going wrong, but you're like, oh, I'll deal with it another time. And sometimes when you come back to it another time means that that plant will no longer be there. And I really wish that I wasn't like that. The other thing I'm noticing is that I obviously transferred this plant over from soil to semi-hydro, and although the majority of the roots have been in semi-hydro, round the root ball there is still more soil than there should be. I think I've been a little bit lazy here. The good thing is though, is that I can see lots of new growth coming out. So I'm certain this plant will bounce back. To be honest, there was some healthy growth. I filmed it actually, I'll put a clip in. But again, I was just like, you know what, if the plant's got pests and I'm giving it a pretty much full chop back, I'm just going to get rid of everything and I'm going to start again. Which, as you guys know, is what I frequently do, and it works pretty well for me. Structurally, looking at it like this, it feels very similar, and I know it's not the same genus, but it feels very similar to the Schismatoglottis SP Silver Borneo. Because I remember when I was first, I actually separated bits of that one, but looking at the growth coming up there, it was very similar in structure. I'm trying to think when I got this plant, but I think it was over a year ago. In fact, I have a feeling I might have got this one from Hugo and Green, which is the plant shop that me and Ross went to in Horsham. I did a Houseplant Tour UK episode about it, and oh my god, it was gorgeous. I hear they've also opened up another plant shop in Brighton now as well, so at some point I'm really going to try and make it down there and go to that because I loved their shop so much. But yeah, this one's been going strong for over a year. And actually, considering my first experience with the Caladium lindenii was not good at all, that was a plant that just gave me so much grief, and I eventually... Did I let it die or did I give it to someone else? I can't remember. I genuinely can't remember. But yeah, like all things considered, this one has actually been very, very, very easy. And I think sometimes when a plant is quite low maintenance, or like, as I say, the way that I'm growing it has been low maintenance and semi-hydro. But when a plant doesn't really give you any issues, sometimes if something does start to go wrong with it, it's easier to overlook the issues just because you kind of think, oh, well, it's usually fine. I know it's a really bad mentality to have, but I do sometimes feel that way. But yeah, the good thing is, even getting right into the roots here, I can see that there's lots and lots of full, pale, healthy roots that are starting to pop off, even from the ones that look a little bit darker. Okay. So that is what I'm left with. And it's not perfect, but I am pretty happy with that. I think that will be fine going back into semi-hydro. But I think I'm going to pot size down. I think I'm going to go down, yeah, I think I'm going to go down one size. So I'm just going to grab another pot. Deary me, I need to get that cupboard sorted out. It is stressful in there at the moment. I just was trying to get pots and all of the pile fell and pots have gone everywhere. I spent so long stacking them all back up recently, so that is something that I'm going to have to do. I think what I probably need to do... Also, the pot I've just brought over is literally the same size. Granted, it's a little bit shallower. Okay, I'm just going to go with it because it's annoying me. But I think what I probably need to do, as I say, off camera, is just sit, like, put an afternoon aside, which I'm really bad at doing, but put an afternoon aside and just sit down and take everything out of that stupid cupboard, figure out a better system, and then come back to you and tell you what's worked. Because in theory, when I first set it up, I mean, God, it was so much better than what it was before. Like, getting those shelves in there has made such a massive difference. But I think I kind of am thinking that everything should be in boxes, like I've just done with the soil and substrates. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I am not effectively doing things in there at the moment. And also, yeah, I was going to say, this pot is fine as a reservoir. However, this doesn't sit perfectly at the bottom, so I think I want another cover pot so that I can actually kind of feel where the reservoir is a little bit better, if that makes sense. Yeah, perfect. That's much better. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to contradict what I just said. I'm going to go back in with the same pot as I used before, just because this one actually is a little bit closer to the bottom than the grey pot. I might just fill the semi-hydro a little bit lower than I would usually do, and then I can fill it higher as the plant grows so the roots aren't too overwhelmed. But yeah, that is what I'm going to do. So much for keeping the substrate low. I completely forgot that that was my plan, and I've just filled it all the way to the top, arguably a little bit too much to the top. Yeah, I'm gonna take some out. Okay, perfect. I have made such a mess though, so I'm gonna have a very quick tidy up. I've just started clearing up and I've realised that this is one that I did not tackle. But I think it might just need a chop back and a reset that way. So this is my Anthurium crystallinum hybrid, and I can't remember what it's crossed with. If anyone has any theories, let me know. I honestly can't remember. But this one basically just got incredibly dry again when I was in Lanzarote. I've got it pretty much growing in pure tree fern fibre, which although is amazing for anthuriums, they do absolutely love it. Also just casually broke that leaf off. It does dry out very quickly. It doesn't hold moisture all that well. And then I got back and I also came back to spider mites as well. And I'm treating it with diatomaceous earth at the moment and experimenting. But I'm just gonna lift it out. Oh, wow. Okay, I was gonna say I just wanna lift it out and see if the roots look healthy. Oh, look at those. Oh my God. No wonder it is drying out quickly. Okay. So yeah, I think this one just really needs a good repot. But what I will probably do is I want to leave the diatomaceous earth on there for another couple of days and then give it a shower down. So I think what I'm going to do for the time being is just give this one a really good water through, put it to one side and come back to it and repot it. I've still got lots of other plant chores and stuff to do as well, so I can guarantee I'll be doing another video like this in the next week or so. But yeah, for now, I'm not going to worry about that one. Also, oh my God, check out the growth that is coming off my Monstera dubia at the moment. Like, isn't that just insane? This is the section that is coming away from the moss pole, and I'm currently air layering and will be chopping at some point in the next, probably, in fact, let me put the camera to this so you can see better. Probably in the next couple of weeks. I keep wanting to do it, but also I don't want to do it too soon before the plant's ready, because I do not want to lose this gorgeous growth. So yeah, that is something that I will come back to, but I am honestly itching to do. And when I do it, I am also going to be chopping up the entire plant, I think, which will be so scary, but I think I'm going to do it. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave it here today, but I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you were doing planty stuff with me, I really hope you got lots done. And if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Que siguen sexys as mantas de las plantas.